Welcome to the Strategic Objectives section of the syllabus. In this recording, we're going to introduce this part of the course, so you've got a good idea of what you're going to be studying and what you'll be able to do by the end of it. So what are we going to cover in this part of the syllabus? Starts with a nice, gentle introduction, where we look at the primary objectives of companies. Why do they exist? We're going to look at both financial and non-financial objectives too. That's going to cover profit-making organisations and also not-for-profits like charities. Next, we're going to look at doing some calculations, looking at different financial returns, things like working out how much money have shareholders made this year out of a company. Then, we're going to look at how things might change for a business. Two key variables we're going to look at are changes in exchange rates and changes in things like customer demand. Now, if customer demand changes, that's obviously going to impact your sales levels, and it's going to have an impact on some of your variable costs too. What we'll look at doing here is seeing how our financial return calculations will change when there is a movement in one of those variables like demand. Final section of this part of the syllabus is looking at non-financial objectives and non-financial reporting. Things like the Global Reporting Initiative and the 7 capitals. Don't worry if you've never heard of those things. They're pretty niche financial reporting terms, but big companies will now try to include these things in their financial statements as a bit of a section at the front to give you a bit of extra information about how the company is doing. So we'll go over the kind of things they'll tend to include. So that's the content. What will you actually be able to do by the end of this section of the syllabus? Here are the learning outcomes. Firstly, you'll be able to assess the strategic financial objectives of an organisation, looking at the long term. Next, you'll be able to calculate whether or not those financial objectives have been met. Then, you'll be able to look at the impact on financial objectives of changing the underlying variables. So that's things like exchange rates and demand that I was talking about earlier. You'll also be able to assess the non-financial objectives of an organisation and see if those have been met. And then finally, you'll have a decent understanding about the reporting of social and environmental issues. That's the Global Reporting Initiative that I mentioned. A few hints now to help you to succeed in this area of the syllabus. A good idea to download the financial statements for your business. Now, if you work for a listed company, great, use your company. If you don't work for a listed business, pick one that you know well. I tend to use Morrison's because it's a business that I know well, a UK supermarket. I do my shopping there, so I understand them. The reason it's good to download those financial statements is firstly, you can use those to do the calculations on your own business. So things like working out total shareholder return, it means a lot more when it's a company that you know and understand, helps to put it into context. And secondly, you'll be able to see the non-financial reporting that they include. So things like this Global Reporting Initiative. And again, it means a lot more when it's a business that you know and understand that you're reading about. And another hint, particularly for those return calculations, is to do lots and lots of practice. Although the formulas are reasonably straightforward and the calculations do look comfortable at first, there's quite a few little tricks that they can throw into these calculations. So it's a good idea to practice as many as possible. That's it for the intro. Let's get cracking with the technical content.